Welcome. Today, we'll examine the influence of speaking and listening skills on reading and writing development in children from birth to grade 3. Research suggests that young children's ability to use language and to listen to and understand the meaning of spoken and written words is related to their later literacy achievements in reading, writing, and spelling. Language is a system of arbitrary symbols that can be combined in conventionalized ways to express ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Opinions on language acquisition and development vary wildly. Some argue that language development follows a universal trajectory, characterized by distinct, stage-like shifts driven by innate factors and operating as an independent language faculty. Others believe in multiple developmental paths, continuous changes through learning, and cognitive prerequisites for language development. Language development begins early in life and typically follows a predictable pattern. Most children acquire the skills in these four areas by the end of their ninth year. Let's briefly look at what is included in language and language development. Pre-linguistic stage, the first stage of language development, which usually occurs between birth and 6 months. Phonology, the study of how sounds are organized in a language to create meaningful words. Pragmatics, the study of language appropriateness and awareness of context. Semantics, the study of how words and phrases relate to each other to communicate information. Syntax, the study of structure of a language. Grammar, the study of patterns in language and how to use critical structures to create sentences. Morphology, the study of word structures, especially morphemes, which are the most minor units of language. Remember that every child is unique and does not acquire language similarly. Listening and speaking skills are fundamental in developing reading and writing skills later in life. There are two main areas of language. Receptive language means the comprehension of language, and expressive language, the use of language through speech, sign, or alternative forms of communication to communicate wants, needs, thoughts, and ideas. Let's do a quick review of some developmental milestones per age group. Birth to 12 months. They respond to sounds and voices, recognize facial expressions and tones of voice, begins babbling, takes turn vocalizing with others, recognize names of a few objects. 1 to 2 years old. They respond to familiar requests like come here and their name. They understand gestures like waves mean bye or goodbye. They continue to babble mama, dada, and still take turns vocalizing with others. They understand names of a few objects and understand one key word in a sentence like, where's your nose? By 2 to 3 years old, they can follow two-part instructions, point to main body parts, name actions, have a vocabulary of 250 to 300 words. By age 3, they can use 1,000 words, form sentences with 2 to 3 words, and talk about present events. They use pronouns, regular past tense, and possessive words. Additionally, they understand concepts like positions, sizes, quantity, and words like stop, go, loud, and quiet. From 3 to 4 years old, they start following three-part instructions like point to the cat. They understand longer, more complex sentences. They use nearly 1,500 words and use a minimum of 3 to 4 words in a sentence. They can tell you what they are doing. They could tell you the function or use of an object. They begin to talk about past events. They use pronouns and connector words. They understand who questions and ask what, why, when, and how questions. By the time the children are 4 to 5 years old, they follow conversations, understand simple instructions, they have expanded vocabulary, they have sorts of objects, forms 4 to 5 word sentences, uses imaginative language, describe objects with several attributes, talks about past and future events, and they understand questions and asks about word meanings. Let's continue on a review of listening and speaking skills in children from kindergarten to grade 3. From 6 to 7-year-olds, ideas are shared. They can follow multi-step instructions, can classify objects based on specific traits, can give oral reports, use advanced language for humor, sarcasm, and explanations. They develop a mature writing skills, understands reality versus fantasy. They can make predictions, justifies decisions, provide solutions and explanations. 7 to 8-year-olds, they can listen for a sustained period, can express their opinion, can retell both imaginary and real events, uses appropriate grammar in their speech and written work, can problem solve, will ask questions to clarify information. From 8 to 9-year-olds, children's academic, phonological, and language skills should be good enough to allow them to read and write to learn new information. They are able to use various parts of speech and precise vocabulary, answers questions and explains what's been learned, understands and follows directions, listens attentively in groups, summarizes stories accurately, uses word analysis skills when reading. They read up to 300 sight words. They can write stories, letters, and brief reports, and they can spell simple words correctly. Language delays impacts listening and speaking by making it difficult for a child to understand the meaning of words and sentences they hear. They also struggle to express their thoughts clearly through speech, often leading to issues with following directions, engaging in conversation, and accurately using grammar due to challenges in processing and producing language at the expected level for their age. We must also consider that speech and language problems differ but often overlap. For example, a child with a language delay might say words well but only be able to put two words together. A child with a speech delay might use words and phrases to express ideas but be hard to understand. Key points to consider are that children with language delays have difficulty understanding complex language, have limited vocabulary, and difficulty with grammar rules. They might also have poor auditory processing, creating challenges, frustration, and withdrawal. Dyslexia is an example of what can significantly impact a young child's listening and speaking skills, often manifesting as difficulties in understanding complex instructions, retrieving words quickly, forming grammatical correct sentences, and following conversational flow, primarily due to challenges with phonological processing or the ability to identify and manipulate individual sounds in language. Dyslexia is a language-based learning disorder. The core indicator of dyslexia is not reversing letters. Rather, it is a difficulty interpreting the sound, the phonological aspects or components of our language. One key factor to remember is that not all children with dyslexia will exhibit the same level of difficulty in listening and speaking. Early intervention is also critical to addressing the challenges of dyslexia. Some supports to be used in the classroom are: use clear and simple language, use visual cues, repetition of words or phrases, modeling correct pronunciation, read aloud regularly for further exposure to diverse vocabulary and language. Finally, collaborate with speech therapists for specific challenges and strategy development for improvement. Research shows that educational experiences that are active, social, contextual, engaging, and student-owned lead to deeper learning. This is the benefits of collaborative learning. It also includes development of higher-level thinking, oral communication, self-management, and leadership skills in the future. It promotes student-faculty interactions, increases student retention, self-esteem, and responsibility. Collaborative learning usually involves breaking students into small groups to answer questions, work on projects, and learn from one another. When children participate, especially in collaborative conversations, they use more inferential thinking than literal recall of the text. It is also important that it impacts communication skills, improves fundamental language skills, and promotes autonomy in younger students. Here's some fun tactics to amp up listening and speaking skills in your classroom. In the early development age, talk constantly, make eye contact, sing songs and rhymes repetitively, respond to infant vocalizations. Within the preschool age, ask open ended questions, use visual aids, model active listening, and play interactive games like Simon Says. For grades 1 to 3, read aloud and follow up with comprehension questions. Have collaborative conversations in small groups or with partners. Have vocabulary building activities, and either have debates or discussions in small and large groups. Lastly, always be patient and supportive, provide positive reinforcement, and always provide opportunities to practice listening and speaking skills in your classroom.